I don't know. I'm very glad we won. A lot of things had to go our way, but our guys hung in and gave themselves a chance. And now, after an experience like that, you've got to be able to wipe it, move on, and get ready for the next battle. I mean, these are all going to be epic battles. They're going to be physical. There's going to be a lot going on, and we're going to have to be ready.
You guys talked last night, basically saying that you were going to have to clean a lot up. You all had a sense that you were going to have a lot to clean up. And just wouldn't you get more of a sense of in terms of that focus session of what stood out more to you in terms of things you had to clean up?
Well, defensively, 135 is a lot. We had a poor defensive first quarter, first half. 69 is a lot, too many. There's just a lot of areas, every aspect of defense, transition, pick and roll, isolation, certainly blockouts are coming into the series. There was a lot of talk about it. You got to do better there.
Coach, you have more than 2,000 games in your career as an NBA coach. How many crazy games like that do you have in your list?
I don't know, but look, it's a time of year where dynamic things happen. Just throughout the league, we've seen a lot of variance in games and a lot of comebacks and all that, and so things happen. We were fortunate last night, but we gotta move forward.
You've had a lot of looks at Brunson in the last couple of years against 43 in game one. Like, what is the greatest challenges to defending him?
He's a great player. He's a great scorer. He's a great leader. He does so much for their attack, and I just have so much respect for him. Our team does, and making it hard on him is difficult because he finds angles, he gets places, and he routinely makes shots that if most players took him, you'd say that's a bad shot. I mean, that's just a bad shot. But he's a bucket, man. He just gets the ball in the basket.
If you had him in Dallas, you would have envisioned him getting to that level?
Well, I've had this question. I'm not surprised knowing his level of determination, how much of a winner he is, and how he really is always embraced the doubters. He loves proving people wrong. I mean, I can tell you a lot of stories about, where he's come from and how much he's improved. But I mean, he's basically made the statement here over the last 3 years, in a very strong way.
Rick, you guys talked a lot of.
Go ahead.
You guys talked a lot about defending Giannis with varying and different coverages in the first round. How much of that applies to what you have to do to Brunson now in this series?
I mean, they're both great players. They're both in that small handful of guys that are essentially unguardable. And so the difference is they're different positions, and you got to be ready. You got to have, a toolbox full of tools, and not all the tools are going to work.
Asked Tyrese about this last night. If he thought that the pressure that you applied defensively, if that may have worn the Knicks down a little bit to open the door for the comeback, would you done that idea?
We're just trying to make it difficult. And so, we're a team very reliant on one another. Our style is a style that, the sum is great. The sum of the parts is greater than the individuals. And we have some great individual players, but the Knicks are a great team. They've had a great year. Some things happened last night that fell in our favor, and as I said, we've got to now wipe it and be ready to move on to the next battle.
Rick Carlisle said
he's obviously did some big clutch shots in the playoffs. He said when he first got to Indiana, he was able to sort of get experience in those situations, taking clutch shots, taking shots to the game on the line. So how have you seen him grow over the years, getting more comfortable within late game situations?
Well, he's embraced Indiana right from the very first time I had dinner with him the night of the trade. I had a short conversation with him to tell him that we're basically giving him the ball. I asked him if he was comfortable running the team, making play calls whenever we needed to make play calls, and all those kinds of things. And his eyes lit up. You know, he was really enthusiastic about that. And then we had a couple of years where we were building, and he had the opportunity to get in some of those situations, have success, go through some ups and downs and things like that. And, yeah, he's just continued to work the process, and he's a special guy, and he's obviously a special player.
So we went Reggie, where we saw a lot of Reggie, where he embraced his team to fill in here, thrive for that role. As Tyrese said, that mindset.
We're just trying to make it hard on the Knicks to win games. And I'm not into starting controversy. There's no point.
Rick, Aaron Neesmith, the last couple of series has just been insane. How has he just grown and embraced that role of being that all-around player?
Yeah, he's a hard worker. He's done it the hard way. He got drafted by Boston. He was in a situation where he was behind a lot of great players that were more established, and he got some minutes, but not a whole lot. But every day he was battling with Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and he got better and better. And when his opportunity came, he was traded to us. I've shared this story with some of you in early July of, I guess, 22. We flew to Vegas on his own and asked if he could play on the summer league team. And he was going into his third year as a becoming a veteran. And he just wanted to be a part of something and have an opportunity to grow and get better. And he's worked and worked and worked, and now he's obviously a very important part of our team.
Chance to get into this because of all the good stuff that we got to at the end of the game. But you were only down to Jalen and Smith when they went on their crazy run. Other than the score aside, what were the things that you thought happened to allow that, and what bothered you about it?
Yeah, I mean, look, they got a great team. I mean, they were third in the East this year. They knocked off Boston. I mean, they beat a really good Detroit team that was right there with the entire league. I don't know what bothered me was the score. They got on a run, and their team, regardless of who's in the game, is very capable of going on runs. It doesn't have to be all their starters or anything like that. I mean, McBride and Payne, I've seen these guys have great runs throughout the year, and in many instances in the playoffs. So Robinson is a huge factor. We haven't seen a Chewy yet, but he's in the mix. I understand the question, but just you can analyze every little last thing. When the score goes the wrong way, you call timeout and try to do something about it. So I don't remember the whole sequence of events, but we bounced back well, gave ourselves a chance, and got out of there alive.
On the glass, you talked a lot about rebounding coming into this, to get 10 rebounds out of Obi in that situation. How big was that piece in terms of one of the things that's not talked about, I guess, as much in keeping
Obi's grown so much as a player. When he came to us, we talked to him about improving his defense, improving his rebounding. He's really worked at both things. Last night, he made a few of the most decisive plays. The follow dunk in overtime was a huge one, and then the dunk to put us up 3. And then he goes in there and dunks the ball. It was pretty clear that he got fouled. I'm not sure why it wasn't called, but that was a huge play. And and he was in there, I think, when we had to make a stand on the last possession and try to keep them from getting a 3. So, look, these guys have all worked really hard. We're day 2 of 13 days. 13 days, and this series is gonna come at both teams very quickly, and we're gonna have to be ready.